The show that I'm going to talk about right now is one of the most fun shows that I do. It's called Reading Rocks with Fox and Socks, or you can just call it the Dr. Seuss Tribute Show. It is a tribute to America's foremost children's author, #1 children's illustrator, the guy that wrote the books that were the primers for my learning to read, and many of you learn to read, and children today are learning to read using the books that were written and illustrated by Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel. And so we're going to be talking about Dr. Seuss in a very fun way. This show is the only show that I do that does not use puppets, and part of the reason is because of the character licensing with Dr. Seuss's characters, all the characters that he's created, and I didn't want to, I just wasn't comfortable creating a Dr. Seuss character. Anyway, point is, no puppets in this show. The only show that I do that doesn't have puppets. I do love using puppets, but it's also got more magic tricks than any other show that I do. So if you love magic, if your kids love magic shows, this show has more magic tricks than any other show that I do. So it's a really fun reward show. Because it is a tribute show, I only talk about Dr. Seuss books. So every single book that I'm going to talk about is a Dr. Seuss book. Now, if you know anything about the author visits that I do, I have over 150 published magazine articles, 20 books. I've written tons and tons of stuff, most of it nonfiction for adults. I never, in any of my programs, I never talk about my writing, because I always tell the kids, I don't care what you read. Whatever you love, there's a book about it in the library. But in my tribute shows, and I have two of them, one for Chris Van Allsburg, and then this show, which is a tribute to Dr. Seuss, I only talk about that author's books. So in this show, all we're going to be talking about is Dr. Seuss books. So people sometimes say, oh, so it's really just for the little kids. Not true. All of my shows are written, scripted, and designed to be presented from pre-K all the way up to 6th grade, at least. I have some shows that go all the way to high school. But the point is that this show is definitely pre-K all the way to 6th. It's very fun stuff. We talk about some very interesting facts about Dr. Seuss, some real world stories about what really happened in his life, and maybe that this story could have been a metaphor for something that was going on in his life, or this book was sort of how he channeled those feelings and emotions. And so we talk about a lot of that really kind of interesting stuff. So they're going to learn a lot about author craft. They're going to learn a lot about author style. They're going to learn a lot about this the man behind the works that they grew up reading. And so it's sort of it brings the reality of these books were created from someone with eyes and ears and a heart and a brain and hands, and they created this story to share with you, and they're just people just like you and me. And when you know, so anyway, it's a brilliant show. I love doing it. It's super fun, a little whimsical and fantastical like Dr. Seuss and all of his creations. So but that's a super fun show. If you're interested in a Dr. Seuss tribute, obviously this show is super popular in March. If you want it anytime in March, you're going to have to book almost a year in advance. This show books up really fast in March. But hey, it's not just for Read Across America Week. It's not just for Dr. Seuss's birthday. This show is great as a reward at the end of the year. It's great as a kickoff to the year to kind of get kids excited about, oh yeah, I've never heard of that book, or oh yeah, I remember that one. I want to read it again now that I know this really cool fact about it. So don't be afraid to use this at other times of the year. It is a fantastic show. And your kids are going to absolutely love it. I call it Reading Rocks with Fox and Socks, or you can just call it the Dr. Seuss Tribute Show, but Reading Rocks.